Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Star Citizen version 3.23. This is a tutorial on how to fly your ship, how to navigate through the stars, find places and locations. We're in version 3.23, so honestly, there's only 4 planetary systems that we can go to, and some moons, and some space stations. I'm going to show you how to navigate your spaceship, because when you first get into the game, it's a little confusing, and there's a whole new system that works okay compared to the old way to do it. But if you've played the game before but are just coming back after taking a break and you want to know how to use the new system, this video is for you. And if you've never flown a starship before, this video is for you. Now, assuming you found your ship, which I have one video for each planet, there's a tutorial out there. If you can't find your ship, go watch my tutorial for the planet that you picked. If we're assuming you found your ship and you've gotten it out, there's 2 types of ships in this game. One where you just get into the cockpit and fly away, and another where you actually have to walk through the ship to get to the cockpit. We have here the first type, but I'm going to show you real quick the second type. So with the first type, we come here, and we look at the ladder, and I press F, and it says Enter Pilot Seat, right? So I'm just going to click F, and we will automatically go into the pilot's seat. This is the simpler type. Most fighters are designed like this. There is no reason to walk around the inside of the ship because there is no inside of the ship. Larger bombers, cargo ships, and habitat ships where you live, scout ships, those kind of things, they have interiors where you can walk around. But these ships do not. And you just hop right into the cockpit. Here we have a much larger ship in the constellation Phoenix. It's got several entry points, including a cargo bay, which is what we're going to use to open. And there's also 2 docking collars, a hatch on top, and a front elevator. This has all kinds of ways to get in the ship. We're going to go in through the cargo bay. The cargo bay is nice. This is where you would want to keep like some sort of vehicle, like a motorcycle or an Ursa rover. The new Ursa medical rover would fit in here pretty well. And you can store this on your ship and then when you land on a planet, you can go exploring with your buggy. It's pretty neat stuff. So here, this is a little secret way into the ship. Turning the flashlight on. We have an elevator that we have to call. And that will come down from upstairs. And we hop on here and run the elevator again, and we're going to go up. But you can see this ship has some entry that goes on. Now, you don't have to enter the way that I went. This ship also has a front entry, but we did the back entry. And so you walk through the ship, and you go through here, and this is the other entry. Wow, it is really freaking dark. There we go. And here is our cockpit with our 3 seats. And once again, we press F, and this time we sit down in the seat. So unlike the fighter where we climb the ladder and we're already in the seat, in this one you have to process your way through the ship and get in and sit. So what do you do now that you're sitting in the seat? Well, we're going to power up the ship and go flying. The first thing that we're going to need to do is hit the U key. And now the nice thing is with the newer versions of Star Citizen, since I think like 3.20, on the right side there we have a little guide. So if you see in the bottom right it says power toggle, that's what we need. It tells us what to click. So I'm going to press U, and that will bring the main screens up. The power's on the ship. The lights that were off making the ship so dark are now on. So if I get up real quick here, and I just want to show you this, you can actually see in here now because the lights are on. It's no longer pitch black. Same thing for the rest of the vessel. As we go through the vessel, it's lit up. And so that turning the power on will do that. However, the ship is still not ready to fly yet. And what we have to do to enable the flight mode is to hit the I key once we're sitting. You'll notice once I slip in here. Why am I doing that with my head? Okay. That over here on the right side, there's 2 red texts. One says hide and the other one says qua. See those over there in the bottom? I'm pointing at them with my mouse. That's hydrogen and quantanium. Quantanium is quantum is what you use to travel very quickly through space. The hydrogen is what we use for just regular propulsion. So in order to turn those engines on, we have to hit the I key. Now the ship is live. So if I'm ready to fly, first things first, on the left side, you're going to see here where I'm pointing with the mouse, it says SCM guns. Okay, this is our flight mode. We're currently in guns mode. Now in guns mode, you can fire your weapons and you also have shields enabled. Then there's also a quantum travel mode that we'll get into once we start flying, but this shows you when you start the ship, you're in SCM guns, and you'll notice that there's this red pip here, this red square. I don't want this here when I'm taking off. If I put this here, I'm going to go right through the roof. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down. I always recommend doing this first. Move it down to about here, and now we can actually take off inside the hangar. So I'm going to press the button, and I'm just going to lift up a little bit. I'm going to let go. Right about there is good. And I'm going to press the N key, and I'm going to raise the landing gear. So we've pressed N, the gear is going up, and we're now flying in space, in the hangar. Not a lot of space, but in space. And so there's our ship floating above the floor, and it's all good. So what's the next step? Well, we need to open the hangar doors so that we can leave. So I have to press alternate, and then N. And that contacts the tower, and he's going to open the tower for me. These are front doors. If you have doors that are above you on a lot of ships, or a lot of bays, this happens. You have to hold down the F key and look up. And you can see if the bays are open or not. On this one, it's actually open in front of us, so that's a little bit easier. The other thing you could do is to press F4 and then press the Z. And by pressing Z, you're freeing the controls to the camera. If I have Z pressed again and I lock the controls, now I'm flying the ship and it's going to move around when I move my mouse. But if I press Z, it lets me free look. So I can see above me to see if those hangar doors are open. That's just a little side note in case you find that you can't see up to see where the hangar doors are. I'm going to press F4 again, and I'm in the cockpit. I want to make sure that I press Z again because now I'm steering the ship. If I press Z again, I'm not steering the ship. If I press it again, I'm steering the ship. So Z is an important key in this whole process. Okay, once again, I'm going to scroll the pip down a little bit, down to about there, not using the mouse scroll wheel to move that square. Once again, I'm going to show you where it is. It's right there. Moving it. See that? And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to press the W key to move the ship forward. And we've got to be careful because there's some debris there for some reason. You can see we hit it. Just a glitch in the game. This game is still pretty buggy. So now that we're outside of the hangar, I'm going to start rolling the throttle up to the top of the range. When you're in SCM gun mode, this is as fast as the ship is going to go in atmosphere until you switch out of the guns mode. So we are at max speed right now, and you can see there's a ladder in front of me that says 30, 35, 40. That is my altitude ladder or my degrees ladder. I am right now pitched up at 45 degrees from the ground. If I let go of W, the ship is going to stop accelerating, but because we have the ship in ESP mode, it's going to just float here. Now, I don't really ever change out of coupled or ESP flight, but for example, when the ship is coupled, it wants to stay where it's at. So like, see how we're not falling even though I don't have my finger on the controls? That's because it's in coupled mode, okay? If I want the ship to keep moving forward out of coupled mode, then I have to turn that off by pressing Alt. Now the ship is like floating free. So if I aim myself at the ground and then let go of the controls, instead of the ship's thrusters reacting and trying to stop the ship and bring it to zero, it's just going to fall till it hits the ground. So people use uncoupled fight for fighting, like they want to slide sideways and shoot. They turn coupled mode off and they let go of the controls and the ship will just keep heading in space in the direction that you've sent it. But to me, that's a little confusing. So you don't have to worry about that. So hit alternate again and turn it back on. For basic flight, we're not going to need that, but we're going to keep ESP on, and we're going to keep coupled on, and we're just going to fly like that. So, but now back to the important stuff. The first thing I'm going to teach you is the cruise control. So we're going to set our pip right about here, and I'm going to press the C button. And now you'll notice that it turned from a square. Once again, I'm talking about this thing right here. Watch it. It changes over to this half moon. And this shows us where our throttle is currently set, which is 0. And now, as I press W, the throttle is going to move up towards that pip. And if I move the mouse wheel up and down, the pip changes. It's going to stop when I hit the pip. Okay? Now we are in cruise control, and you can see that the ship is holding at 165 miles an hour. Or meters per second. And we're continuing to fly. If I press F and I look around the cockpit, I can see that I'm continuing up into space. Okay, so that's another thing we need to talk about. If you hold down F while you're flying, you just hold it and keep holding it. Now you can use your mouse to look around the cockpit. You can also click on these screens, so you can use the mouse to change to a different screen, like a comm screen, or you can check your heat signatures, or you can do blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's a real quick note on what this does. So F allows you to do that. Back to the cruise control. We're set at 165. If I want to change speed at any time, I can roll the mouse down, and then you can see the ship is falling and responding. It's down to 89 knots, or 89 meters per second. And now I'm going to go back up to, let's go try to make it go all the way into the 200, and it won't go. What it's going to do is it's going to top out at the top of the safety margin. So you say, Arthur, I want to go faster than 196 because it's taking forever to get out of atmosphere. Okay, well, then what you got to do is you got to sacrifice your shields and your guns, and you're going to hold down the B key. You will see now that over here in the corner, it says Nav QTM, and that is we're going into navigational quantum mode. Once it hits the blue, you'll notice that this ladder has changed. The red is now all the way up, like all the way halfway down. So we have now some higher speeds available to us, and up to 400 it looks like. Once we get into space, we'll be able to reach that. However, the problem is, and if even I put this up, the ship isn't going to go much faster because this ship has an aerodynamic limitation of about 270-ish meters per second in atmosphere. The atmosphere is slowing us down. This is as fast as we can climb out of atmosphere. It's not going to go any faster. The reason why the ship is shaking is because we are at full thrusters trying to break out of the atmosphere. Now, once we get into space, you're going to see that speed creep up, and it will eventually hit 500, something like that, 480, something like that. But we can't go any faster than that. Now, if I move the pip down, same thing happens here as it does in regular mode. It'll try to follow the pip down, and it'll take us back into the safe speed. I want to go faster here. Now, you'll notice different ships have different capabilities. So, for example, a small fighter, this is going to be easily reaching 400 or 500 in the atmosphere. Maybe even 600, depending on the fighter and the size of the engines. But this ship in particular doesn't have powerful enough engines to push it through the atmosphere any faster. So that's where we're at. Once again, I'm climbing up at about 45 degrees. You can see from the outside of the ship that is about like that, which is plenty of a climb to get to outer space pretty quick. If you want to go even faster, you can just go straight up. But honestly, it doesn't really make that much of a difference in speed. So we're going to break out of atmosphere in a minute here, and we're just going to continue on. So we're in quantum mode, and it's basically free mode right now because we haven't set a destination on our map. So if I look around, once we get up into the sky, we should have some targets that we can aim at to go to. So we'll wait till we get up there. I'm going to pause for a second while we head up. Now, on most planets and moons, you're going to need to get all the way out of the atmosphere before you can jump. But Orson is so big that you can actually jump when you're still within atmosphere. So we've reached a staggering height of 132,000 meters above the, I don't want to say surface, but above the planet where we can visit the city and stuff. And we're pointing our ship around, and I'm looking around for targets to jump to. Well, there's only really one in the sky right now. Different planets will have, there are some. You got Seraphim Station, which is a space station. You've got another space station, Mike L3, which is from Microtech. If I move over here, I got Arc L5. You got to pick where you want to jump. There's all kinds of different options to jump to, and this shows you how far they are. That one's 38. I think that's gajillion meters, gigameters. It's about a 10-minute jump, and they actually take about 10 minutes. Seraphim Station is the closest. So what we're going to jump there just so you guys, for practical reasons, can see what jumping looks like. I'm going to point my nose at Seraphim Station and keep it there. And you can see once those brackets around the center here and here are flashing, we're calibrated. If I move off, I lose my calibration. So then I have to point back up, and I have to wait till it calibrates again. Once that's calibrated, I can press the left mouse button, and I'm going to jump. Here we go. So we're jumping. And we're at Seraphim Station, just like that. 700 kilometers jumped. And be careful not to crash into it. Now, once again, when you get near a space station, I would suggest strongly that once you get within maybe 10 kilometers or even maybe 15 kilometers, that you hold down the B button, you go into guns mode, and you slow the ship down. Because right now we're going so fast that if we crash in the red zone, you're not going to be able to stop and you're going to slam right into the space station. So it's a good idea to cut back into SCM mode once you get close to where you're going to go. But we can land here if we want, or we can find a different location to go to. But let's see what a landing looks like. So we're going to fly in close to the station. Once we get close enough, they're going to contact us and say, hey, we'd like you to contact ATC for a landing pad. So we're going to do that. So once again, we're back into, but we got into SCM guns mode by pressing B. Most jumps will be much longer, by the way. That was a very short jump. And they have not, there he is. He says, now see, it says, please contact ATC to land right up here. So I'm going to press alternate N. And I'm going to start slowing down too, because we're getting awfully close to the space station. And they're going to assign us a landing bay. You can see down there on my left-hand side where it says Hangar 5, there's a blue tick, and that shows me where they want me to land. So we're going to go ahead and, now we're going to speed up a little bit and fly over there. Now, you'll have to poke around and find your hangars. Sometimes hangars are on the sides of buildings. Sometimes you have to enter from the top. I'm not sure which one this is, but it's looking like it's in the center of the building, so I'm assuming it's going to be a top landing. So we're going to have to go above it and then hangar down into it, but it might be a regular bay. Okay, looks like I was wrong, and it's a regular bay. Turning the cruise control off, and I'm holding down W to drive now because I don't want to smash into the space station. Is this going to be? Nope, it's going to be an above one. So we're going to raise up. And there's the bay on the roof. These are kind of a pain to get into with big ships like this. Now, there's a couple different ways to do this. You can do it however you like. Some people go outside and use the outside camera. Some people have their buddies tell them where they are if they're flying with multiple people. If you're by yourself, you can just nose in, slow it down. I'm going to put the gear down, by the way, while I'm landing. And I'm going to slow down even more. And I keep rolling it down. And we are going to take the nose almost all the way down to the pavement. That's probably good. And now I'm going to start swinging forward and going forward and putting my nose up. There we go. We're a little close. And now I'm going to start putting my butt down and put my nose up. And that should land us nice and evenly. There we go. Now, little tip or trick here. Once you've landed, I recommend turning your engines off after you've refueled. So we'll get to that. But don't forget that part, and we'll talk about it again. But the first thing you're going to do is hit F2. That brings up your menu. And you're going to go over here to your landing menu. In here, you're going to want to say, we need to buy some hydrogen. We don't need to buy any quantum because we're full. And I'm going to say buy. And it's going to process our order. And you're going to see our fuel that was down is going to fill up. You can see the hydrogen over here, right where I'm pointing, is filling up. And it's still filling. It says let it go. So we'll just let it fill up. Boy, is that slow. Weird. It got hung up. I've never seen it do that before. Usually it just fills it up, but it's filled part of it up. All right, anyway, moving along. Once that's done, which I don't know why it's being weird now, but maybe the server's crashing. The next thing that I do recommend is, like I said before, I want you to turn your engines off. You're going to press I. Occasionally, the ships will leave the floor. And if you'll leave and you'll come back and the ship will be floating in the air and there's no way to get into it. So if you turn the engines off, it won't do that. It keeps it from floating away. So and here we are. We can look around and see that we've landed nice and cleanly. And I'm going to take you to the last part of what we need to do for this. Once you've arrived at the space station or location that you want to go to, you're going to ride the elevator up into the lobby, and you are going to put the ship into storage. You don't have to do this, but we found over the years, my friends and I, that if you don't, you can go to the lobby here. If you don't do this, you're probably going to run into some issues occasionally with the ship either not being there or getting impounded or just weird things that happen. So you're better off putting the ship away by yourself and then letting the computer do it. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to just click on that ship, and it's going to say Phoenix. There it is. And I'm going to say store. And so that ship has now been moved to storage. Perfect. All right, so the last thing that I wanted to go over with you is something fairly simple. In the map, we have, if you press F1 to bring up the map, we learned how to click on something. So we went to our map, and we came over here, and we picked on a planet, and we clicked on it, and we said root ourselves there. That's easy, cool to do. But there's one more feature that they've added in that's really nice, and that is that you can search for a location. So right now I want to go back home, which is HRU L2. We're almost there because I was playing around a bit. But if I type in UR and then L, and you can see here, right, there is HUR L2. And then I can click on this, and I can route myself to it. And now it's created a nice route through the Hurston system to HUR L2. I can spell. Now, the one complaint with this system is that if you try to do this from inside a space station or on a planet, it'll tell you you're not inside your ship. Now, in real life, if I'm going to go somewhere, before I leave, I sit down at the place that I'm at, or maybe in my car before I leave. I type in the address of the location that I'm going to go to so that my GPS is ready to be used. I don't wait till I'm driving down the freeway to program my GPS. But in this game, unfortunately, right now as it stands, it will work sometimes, but sometimes you can't route anything until you're in your ship and you're away from the city or the space station that you're in. Some places it works, some places it doesn't, so it's kind of a hit or miss. But this is very useful, and so what I recommend is to take off, fly away from the space station a bit, or get up into orbit if you're on a planet, get out of the atmosphere, and then stop the ship and take a moment to program in where you want to go. And this is very helpful, though, and it allows you to just type in any name that you need. So let's say you know that you need to go to Magda for a mission. You type in MAG. Oh, there it is. And Magda's right there. Or let's say, Daymar's spelled, has M-A in it also. Daymar. Grim Hex. So all these places come up, cities, names, things like that. And then all you have to do, and we're going to go back to the place where we're headed because that's HRU there. We're going to route to that, and we've got a route, and then we're set. So once you press the route button, it's going to create the route. I've screwed it all up now that I've double rooted it. It's going to blow up. Did I kill it? I must have killed it. Hang on. Yeah, I had to reset it. There we go. HUR L2. And there's the route. We're all set, and I'm going to come back out here to my navigation computer, put myself in the nav mode. There's my target. We're 2.7 gazillion miles away. Probably jillion meters. Gigameters. I pressed the wrong button because I'm used to pressing B. That's another thing. Muscle memory is kind of a pain. For years, it was holding down the B button is what made you jump. Now it's the right mouse button, or left mouse button. But I have to get used to that. So anyway, there we go, and we're off. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you found this video useful. I hope that it'll help you to navigate the verse as you're learning to get around. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the verse. Be sure to say hi if you see me, V Blue Guitar. Bye.